my friend. This is Pat Sloan, and we are kicking off a lot of things today. It's January 2nd, and everything is new. I hope you had a wonderful actual New Year's Day yesterday. Okay, so let's get into things. I am going to talk about my cross stitch that I'm starting, the 100 blocks, the Grandma's Kitchen, which is our Block Wednesday, and at the end is a tour of me switching the quilts out to blue and white. This one here is a sampler that we did together called Home Is, and you can see it on the completed project page at my website. So there it is, da-da-da-da-da, and that'll live in here all of January. Exciting. Okay, so Christmas kitties. I am going to commit to at least 10 minutes. I know I said 30 minutes a day, but at least 10 minutes, 10 to 30 minutes a day. And I have to use this cloth because the dots were on too small of a count of cloth. This is 14, which is like what I like to work with. And I didn't realize that the one with the red dots was a much smaller weave, and I just won't work on it. So, okay, so we have that, and my buddy Wendy is making it as well. And so we're just going to see what kind of progress we make. And we have, like months to do it, right? But I know me, I need to try to stitch every day. So I'm going to get that set up. Okay, 100 blocks. Today I'm going to focus more on Grandma's Kitchen. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about the 100 blocks, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more on Tuesday's video about the patterns in the book and sort of how to read them. So here's the book, and you have to have the book in order to do a quilt along from a book. That's required. And I did my first block in all, in all greens. There we go. I had mushrooms. See them? I'm sure one of you sent me that mushroom fabric. And so I'll talk about my colors. I'll talk about some thoughts I have on how to approach this, since I'm just doing 70 blocks over the 10 months. And that is, I think, a good pace for me. And, just other stuff. We'll kind of dive into that on Tuesday, because I want to reserve today for Grandma's Kitchen and the tour. All right, Grandma's Kitchen. Where do you start? What is the heart of the home? What is the heart of your grandma's home? What kind of is the hub? The kitchen. That's why I called the quilt along Grandma's Kitchen. And each of the blocks are named something within this quilt along that has to do with kitchens or memories. And some of them are going to be very personal memories of mine, which you may or may not relate to because it may not happen in your family. But that's the way I do things. It's a story. It's a walk down memory lane for me. So our first block is called the kitchen table, because that is really where things start, don't they? They start at the kitchen table, your grandma's kitchen table, or you as a grandma, your kitchen table, or maybe if your memory is more of an auntie or a family member who kind of had that role as a grandma, their kitchen table. So, I'm always just going to say grandma, but that can be either yours, yourself, a friend, something like that. So the kitchen table is a star within a star. But I want to show you how the pattern is laid out here in one second. But first, my grandmas had very, very different kitchens. I had my old-fashioned grandma who they just really didn't, they had nice jobs, but they didn't really have the extra income to do kind of things. And the other grandmas who also had a decent job, and they also did not have a lot of extra money. They were, but they liked newer things. So Granny liked the newer things. She liked to have newer things. Nana stayed very old fashioned with what she did. So Nana's kitchen they were basically in a duplex that was a shotgun house. You looked in the front door and you had living room, family room, why you needed two, they never used a living room, and then a big kitchen, and it had the dinette table in there. Granny had a more modern ranch. They actually built their ranch house, and hers was a more modern kitchen, which had a small kitchen table in it. And then they had a dining room outside of that for family gatherings. And my granny had a lot of people would come over. So there were often, aunts, uncle, my cousins, there was bigger groups that would eat at Granny's house. And Nana had a decent sized table, but it was in the kitchen itself. So those are like the two wonderful memories I have of the kitchens. And if I find it, It'll be popped up right here on the right. If not, there's a picture of me having cereal with my granny and pappy, my modern granny, in their kitchen. So the patterns for all of these are laid out pretty similar, so I'm just going to go over it once, then you will know the format, so I won't sort of tell you that format over and over because that's kind of redundant. I have a little bit about my memory, the cutting, and then the pattern step by step, anything else that needs, step by step. And then I have a worksheet because there are a lot of us that, particularly if you've been quilting a while, that you really don't need to read directions. You just need to see the sizes of things because you have your own way of doing flying geese and, whatever. So here is that sheet. And then I have on all of them a bonus layout using the block. And it'll vary. Most of them are pretty simple. And then a coloring page. So my fabrics for this, plus you also need to have downloaded the supply list, which is also the layout. And you can see the blocks are banked up pretty much side by side. There's little bits of sashing to kind of make it all work together, but there's not a lot of sashing in this. And it's an asymmetrical setting. And so, hold on, let me get the fabric. I am using Laguna Sunrise by my friends Sherry and Chelsea, mother-daughter team that designs with Moda Fabrics. And so this is what I'm using. And I decided to use this ballerina pink again as any background. And in the case of this star, that's where the background will be. So I'm going to use the ballerina pink to kind of hold and tie all this together. Plus it'll allow me to use these white-based for in the blocks, which I think will be really, really awesome. So I need a center, a dark, and a medium to go on the ballerina pink. And my favorite, red, right? Do you think I should start with red? So this red and aqua. So if I do red star points, which I could do this one, do star points. I could do an aqua, light aqua center for this, which could be, I think it could be that one, the light aqua center. And then maybe on all this outer stuff. So this would be the star point. So all that outer stuff, which is before the pink. Could I go a gray? What do we got in the gray? So I could do this gray, might be kind of cool. So the star point, so we'll be on that gray, which will be against the pink. And then I could do this red, this aqua in the middle, or maybe I'll just do a red in the middle. So it'd be kind of more of a full red star. I'm going to cut everything else out and then audition the middle to see what I like. Here it is laid out. I went ahead and fussy cut these 4 corners because I think that is so cute. And then for the strips, I cut them so that they were kind of in the same direction and putting the bigger circles up at the top where it's not going to be covered by the flying geese units. So they're way up at the top. And then I'm auditioning because, this is your power tool. This is your superpower for quilting, auditioning, because you can decide before you're finished and before you start sewing if this is looking good to you. Now I have some centers, and let's just see. Let's see what, this is the one I first pulled, the aqua. Okay, I'm like, and then I pulled the red, and that's also kind of, I'm not that keen on that in there. Then I thought, okay, let's go with the white-based. Look at that. That's it. But I have 3 options. This bigger floral, the little dots, which have like a lot of the colors, which is kind of cool because it brings a bunch of colors in. They all do, these 3 that I'm going to show you. And then here's my third one, which are these same pattern, but done in, oh, look at that. So the center is a 4-inch finish. So I will see how this will fussy cut. And maybe I can get one right in the middle. Well, I can, but we'll see what it looks like with one right in the middle. And I think that's what I'll go with. I really like how this came out. adding in the piece that has a few of the other colors, I think is going to be really important, because the blocks, for me, I want to be sure I have like a variety of the colors all around the quilt, since there's so many different ones in this bundle, rather than just getting like a couple of purples in one corner or something like that. And when you look at the layout, well, I'm not going to get out again, but when you look at the layout, you can see where the blocks will go eventually. That's in the supply list / pattern layout. So you have all that information already. So you can plan yours, and particularly if you want to do like a gradation of color or something like that, you have everything set as I'm going to set it. Because there are a couple different size blocks, so you want to be aware of what you're doing. Okay, so look at this. So cute. There's just so many ways this block could go. Now, when my video is done, go visit Kendall, my friend Kendall, who has a YouTube channel. He also helps as like an ambassador with a couple of my other friends to, approve things in the Facebook group and stuff like that. He's in Australia, so he's mostly, you're going to see him in the evening if you're on there, or if you are also in Australia, that's his prime time, when it is your prime time. Okay, so check out his video where he sews the block and gives you tips. Now it is tour time. When I switch my quilts out, I always like to first share with you kind of a little bit about the process, about pulling things out. And so we'll look at that first. All right, I'm ready to take everything down, all down. Need a magic wand to just go toop and it'll all be done, but that's not the case. So these are the blue quilts that I've had put up here, and then I just need to get out like pillowcases and maybe table runner. I'm not sure if table runner's up there. So, okay, let's do it. My one goal is to get all of these quilts kind of in the topic. Like right now, I believe there's some Halloween here and some Halloween here. This used to be Christmas and Christmas, but then I gave a bunch of them to charity this year for Christmas. And what I need to do is get like this is just a Christmas row. And even what I need to do is ones I'm not really hanging anymore, but don't want to give to charity yet, or just want to keep for a while for myself. I need to get those out of here and have like this as kind of a working shelf, and then maybe even that area there. Like these would be all the things to be switched out. Plus I have those two shelves as kind of a lot of small things. And so, yeah, there's my walking shoes. So these I have to, there's a lot of work to do there. This is my fabric lines here. So, okay, all right. And, I can put things off, right? We can do that. We can put things off. But that's like, I could just shuffle it enough to get these in there and not think about it. But I know green will be for March, so I'm thinking I'm going to take these and put them where the blue ones were, on top of the cupboard. And then maybe I can shuffle this one around and sort of work towards things. So I think I'll put up here this Blue Heaven, which is from it was my drawing room. Stephanie Sheridan designed the quilt. Isn't it awesome? So this is all my drawing room fabric, the blues, that came in some black as well. I did the owl that year. So I think I'm going to enjoy that one this year. And then maybe there's a sampler in here that the sampler might, which is down I think on the very bottom. I think this sampler is what I'm going to put in my studio on the wall. And then I'll pick some of these others, because I have more blue and whites than there's 2 stacks. There we go. 2 stacks. So I have way more than I can display, which I'm going to see what all I get this year, and then maybe, put up right now, this year, put up now, and then decide of ones I am not putting up, maybe they need to go to a new home now, because, I'm trying to get it reduced down, and if I've not put them up for a couple years, then it's probably just time for them to go to a new home. So I'm going to be getting all these pieces out, and then I'll show some of the ones that I am not hanging so that you can see them. This quilt here is the Holiday Homies. It is a Tula Pink pattern, free pattern. If you go to her website or just Google Holiday Homies quilt pattern, and that's her fabric line, the Holiday Homies. And so it just cracks me up. And they're wintry. They might feel a little bit Christmassy, but I think they're more wintry. So that is going to go on the back of that chair, so you won't see all of it, but I enjoy having it there. And then I used my Harmony wide back in the kind of forest green, and look at this great quilt pattern for it. Isn't that fabulous? There, you can see it. I think you can see it. Yep. Here are the little jester snowmen from Quilt the Season 2. One year I hosted a beginner quilt along, and this is the sampler that we did. It's a free beginner sampler from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to do. Just kind of take you back to your basic skills, or if you're brand new and have never learned to read patterns or kind of follow along, it's a really great skill builder. This is from my birdsong panel. It's the free pattern that came to showcase the panel, but the pattern can be used for any kind of great fabrics that you might want to fussy cut. Look at that. Look at that quilting in that circle. But you know, the middle part is a panel, but you could make that a quilt block or just a beautiful piece of fabric that you have. So the pattern is still free. It's on my fabric page. You can link to that. It's my Benertex line birdsong. Down the Garden Path is one of my patterns from quite a few years ago. It was done in my batiks when I had some batik lines a ways back. Look at this quilting that my friend Cindy did. Look at that. Just right through there. There's thread. There's always thread. And then look at those pretty flowers. Look at that. So I always have loved this one, and I'm going to put it on the ladder. And drum roll. Here they are. Here's everything set up. So we start here in the kitchen. This looks so good. I think I may have had it there last year as well. Okay, into the dining room, and ta-da! Transformed into blue and white winter wonderland. And so I don't have as many little things to put out that are blue and white, but I kept some snowmen that have a lot of blue and white, and you know, like, we can always hope for a little bit of snow. Don't know if I'll get it. And I did keep the red mushroom stuff, a bunch of it over here. Here's one of my cross stitch that I have. And I got a new light for in here because the lighting is just not good in this room for the plants, and they seem to be loving it. It's a Christmas present from my family. And so over here I have got these little peppermint stands under there, and I just cover them. You know, I just put some cloth. We have lots of fabric. I've got fabric in the right colors, and then some of the mushroom stuff. And I didn't cover that one, but I got a dot for the legs of the mushroom tree. And I would like to get something a little bit more interesting eventually rather than the sampler for there, but the colors are good. This one is a free pattern from the Fat Quarter Shop, and it's too wide. It's a square, so it's too wide, so I just had to tuck it under. So I really had nothing else that would go there, but it looks fine, and I really like that quilt. I mean, someday I probably should make another one because it's a nice quilt. Okay. And then into the living room. Again, it's just not quite as much. It feels so different after the tree comes down. We've got a humidifier that we run here in the winter. And I want to talk about that basket in a minute. So I pulled it out over there. Ta-da, ta-da. So nice. I really, really love. That is from a book that has been out of print because this was my publisher that closed. Sweater Weather by, was the name of the book, by Susan Aki, and the patterns in there. This is from one of my books, and I've got the sweet little birds. Look at that. And I have a light blue bowl. Sometime I'd like to get like a navy bowl for there. Okay, and then the piece de resistance up on the wall to enjoy again this year. Got some little owl action going over here. One of the first things I ever collected as a kid was owls. So I have a few owl things. And then one of my patterns, I think it's with a mitten one. There was another runner that has mittens on it. And then there are the Tula Pink dogs. They just crack me up. And this fabric is from the same line. And so I really like that. And it is quilted. So I just quilted in the grid, which gives it some texture. So here, this basket liner, I need to make a new liner because I think I want to do a black and white check because that kind of always goes with everything. And this normally sits in another corner, but I pulled it out here. Okay, so and up on the ladder, I've got 2 pieces and then some other blue and whites, and then some, this is be for the next month, the next switch out, which are the greens for, well, no, that'll be for March and April. I'll kind of have all these greens out, and I'm sort of playing around. I have a lot to do with getting things organized, the quilts into groupings for display. What have I got here? I've got the little mug that I did. That's a free pattern somewhere on my website. Just do Pat Sloan mug. It should come up. And let's see. On the door. And then there's the dowel rod that I showed you. I finally painted the entire thing. So now it matches nicely. And I've got the single sort of Nordic snowflake here. And then from my holiday hoopla, which of course most of my books are out of print as well. That is one of them. So this snowman from the holiday hoopla. And then another little button snowman guy right there. So coming back in from this direction, there we go. There's a look at everything. Nice and calm for January. So there it is. It's switched out. I feel like it's a little bit simpler, and probably a lot of that just has to do with the Christmas stuff being gone, which is a little bit more abundant. And I love it. It's nice and peaceful. And so this is beginning of 2025, our first block of Grandma's Kitchen. The kitchen table is the heart of the kitchen. So I can't wait to see yours. So share it at Quilt Along with Pat Sloan. And a lot of times people ask me how long does it take to do that. And if I was not filming, it would be quicker. But probably it's about 5 hours for switching the quilts out, like a good most of the afternoon between filming and pulling them out, putting things away, taking things down, pressing things, all of that. So, okay, my friend. So thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me in 2025 for a bunch of quilt-alongs. And so I love you. Mwah. Thank you for being in the Sloan Zone. I will see you online.